On April 5th, 1993, three men sat in a corner booth at a Denny's in San Jose, California, where they agreed to start a company that would burgeon into a behemoth of the 21st century. They agreed to start a company called NVIDIA. Their names are Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Priam. Their Denny's meeting would one day become the multi-trillion-dollar company, and their bold idea, the future of computing, would revolve around graphics-based processing units called GPUs. These chips would later power the devices and innovations that we use today, from video games to artificial intelligence. Welcome to Future Scout. Today, we're discussing NVIDIA's rise to becoming a trillion-dollar company. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And while none of the information in this video should be taken as financial advice, it will provide an informational overview of NVIDIA's company's journey from inception to the dominant organization it is today. Let's dive in. Think of a bright explosion in a video game. The colors are extremely bright, vibrant, and take up a lot of data. GPUs help to accelerate the image processing of this data. The initial hypothesis of Huang, Priam, and Malachowski was that video games would become increasingly complex and computationally challenging as graphics evolved. Because of new video game systems coming out, their prediction was that video games as an industry would grow over the coming years and need higher fidelity processing of graphics. Starting off with a mere $40,000, the team raised $20 million in venture capital from Sequoia, a prominent venture capital firm based out of the Bay Area. The company's first GPU was called the NV1, which was optimized for processing graphical shapes called quadratic primitives instead of triangle primitives preferred by other manufacturers. In simple terms, this meant that while designing three-dimensionally, triangles, squares, and polygons positioned in three-dimensional space could be used as primitives to model more complex 3D forms. However, the market was not prepared for NVIDIA's vision, and when Microsoft released a platform called DirectX and graphics software called Direct3D, they nearly doomed NVIDIA in the early days by refusing to support any type of primitive besides the commonly used triangles. This led to a weakening revenue and a 1996 layoff where Jensen Huang had to shed nearly half the company, which at that time consisted of a mere 100 employees. After pivoting at the heels of Microsoft's announcement, the company had finally released a triangle primitive GPU known as the Reva 128 in August of 1997. This year-long pivot completely exhausted company resources, and the team only had enough payroll for 1 month left of business. The next 4 months of grit, however, proved that their pivot was worthwhile, and after selling 1 million of the Reva 128 GPUs, the company was flush with cash. By narrowly averting a shutdown, Huang and the team were prepared to fund the development of its future products. 1998 came with the heightened reputation of NVIDIA upon the release of the Reva TNT. This chip was what cemented NVIDIA as a serious player in the space by doubling rendering speeds. The company was competing predominantly against a company called 3DFX's Voodoo 2 chip. Thankfully, NVIDIA had outperformed the chip in 32-bit image quality, but performance lagged slightly behind. NVIDIA did something through this rivalry that later became standard in the industry. They released a budget version of Reva TNT called Vanta. This essentially allowed for strong features in the chip, but at a much lower price. And this proved a popular move with OEM computer builders because of its economic value to consumers. A year later, in 1999, the company finally went public with a modest share price of $12. This, coupled with the introduction of the flagship GeForce 256, marked a significant leap in graphics performance and set the stage for NVIDIA's dominance in the gaming industry for years to come. The GeForce series of GPUs became a hallmark of innovation, consistently pushing the boundaries of visual computing. With better lighting, scenes, and surfaces, graphical fidelity continued to advance at staggering rates. By the time the dot-com boom era of 2000 happened, only another chip by a company called ATI would remain in direct competition to NVIDIA's GeForce 256 and GeForce 2. NVIDIA, capitalizing on the momentum, conducted their first stock split, which was a 2-for-1 that occurred in June of 2000. NVIDIA revolutionized the market with the GeForce, creating a massive demand and earning the company the contract to develop the graphics hardware for Microsoft's newly introduced console known as the Xbox. This earned NVIDIA a $200 million advance, but the weight of this caused the company to pull its top engineers away from other competing projects. Soon after, the new GeForce 2 GTS shipped in the summer of 2000, and in December of that same year, the company was able to acquire the intellectual property of its bitter rival, 3DFX, for $70 million. Another 2-to-1 stock split occurred the day before 9/11 in 2001, and by 2002, the acquisition was finalized. This did nothing to satiate NVIDIA's appetite. Huang was about to set off on a multi-year acquisition spree to continue to strengthen the stock. The following year saw acquisitions of companies like Xluna, who created software rendering tools. August of 2003 saw a company called MediaQ acquired for yet another $70 million. 2004 was when NVIDIA acquired iReady to bolster its functionalities even further. These acquisitions solidified NVIDIA as a trusted gaming hardware partner. Sony announced in 2004 that NVIDIA would be assisting them in the development of the graphics processor for the highly anticipated PlayStation 3, which ended up selling a staggering 87 million units. More acquisitions followed, such as ULI Electronics and Hybrid Graphics. NVIDIA's appetite for acquisitions showed little desire to slow down. By December of 2006, the federal government began taking notice of this shopping spree and began probing both NVIDIA and their main rival AMD with subpoenas of antitrust violations in the graphics cards industry. Noticeably missing from the subpoena was Intel, who was undisputably the largest supplier of PC graphics technology in the entire market. NVIDIA and ATI Technologies, which AMD had acquired, were well known to be fierce competitors, as they were the two main players in the industry. In fact, the two only worked together when it came to industry standards associations. By 2008, the DOJ probe had ended with no actions against either of the two rivals, but a mere 2 years prior, an employee at NVIDIA had been scheming up something that would extend the company far beyond gaming. Ian Buck, an employee who saw another potential vision for NVIDIA's technology, architected CUDA, the Compute Unified Device Architecture, in 2006. CUDA enabled GPUs to be used for general-purpose processing, laying the foundation for advancements in scientific research, AI, machine learning, and more. This was a bet that Jensen Huang believed would be paramount as these fields continued to advance, and would lead NVIDIA to be a general hardware for scientific computing everywhere. CUDA was so impactful because it was designed to work with common computer programming languages. Previously, specialists required graphics programming skills even to be able to utilize GPU hardware at all. And this new shift with CUDA meant that NVIDIA would broaden their potential addressable market significantly, which undoubtedly helped secure investor confidence as the company continued to grow unimpeded. NVIDIA continued its acquisition spree and also won Forbes Company of the Year award for 2007 based on their accomplishments over the past 5 years. From 2005 to 2007, NVIDIA had tripled their stock price from $8.81 to $25.68, mere fractions of its current worth and market cap. The company's revenue from the same period grew 50%, but the company hit a lull in its growth figures, taking until 2013 to return to its $4 billion revenue form. It wasn't until May of 2023 that NVIDIA would reach the coveted $1 trillion market cap, with revenues exceeding $26 billion. The revenue wasn't the full story though. It was the growth numbers that even the top startups would be envious of. NVIDIA's market was booming, with double-digit acquisitions in the previous decade, as well as global demand growing for their GPUs. They were positioned for explosive growth. By 2014, the three main markets NVIDIA served were gaming, automotive electronics, and mobile devices. The company would later diversify into other areas that would help intensify the flames of its growth as well, which we'll cover shortly. And if you're liking the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so the Future Scout team can continue bringing more videos like this to your YouTube feed. As the 2010s rounded out their midway point, 2016 arrived, and NVIDIA unveiled the first GPUs of the GeForce 10 series. These were based on new architecture in the company, known as its Pascal architecture, named after the 17th century French mathematician and physicist Blaise Pascal. The main outcome from the new GeForce series meant that by utilizing a combination of hardware and software, there could be a cap on performance that prevented overheating of electronic devices while remaining highly compact. Think of a thin laptop, for example, that does not heat up too much. 2016 wasn't all about innovation, though. In July of that year, NVIDIA agreed to a settlement for a false advertising lawsuit regarding one of their GPU models being unable to use all of their advertised 4 GB of RAM. This was due to limitations brought by the design of its hardware. And this was a mere blemish on the compounding growth of the company. NVIDIA kept going the next year with significant partnerships in the automotive space. In May of 2017, not even a year after the false advertising lawsuit concluded, NVIDIA announced a partnership with Toyota to use the Drive PX series artificial intelligence platform for its autonomous vehicles. 2 months later, in July of 2017, NVIDIA and Chinese search giant Baidu then announced a far-reaching AI partnership. It included cloud computing, autonomous driving, consumer devices, and Baidu's open-source AI framework. Baidu later unveiled that NVIDIA's Drive PX2 AI would serve as the foundation of its autonomous vehicle platform as well. Chip after chip, GPU after GPU, the company continued acquiring competitors and putting out new, groundbreaking technology. This caught the attention of Google, who announced in 2018 that NVIDIA's P4 graphics cards would be integrated into Google Cloud's AI. This meant one of the top cloud infrastructure providers would be using NVIDIA's GPUs to help with machine learning and artificial intelligence, extreme validation for the vision that Ian Buck had over 10 years prior with the creation of CUDA. 2019 is where things for NVIDIA really begin to hit a fever pitch. The company closed the acquisition of Mellanox Technologies for $6.9 billion. This would help expand their footprint into the high-performance computing market. By the time the 2020s hit, the appetite for advanced computing would escalate tremendously with technologies such as ChatGPT and other AI applications, proving that Mellanox was a brilliant acquisition by NVIDIA. This led to the company releasing their Bluefield-era data processing units from the acquisition, which were targeted largely at data centers for cloud computing and high-performance computing and machine learning. To date, NVIDIA's data centers business is 78% of revenue and has grown at a 75% CAGR in the past 5 years. There are only 2 important items to understand when it comes to cloud computing: latency and bandwidth. Latency is the time it takes from a cause and effect, and bandwidth, which is the maximum rate of data transfer across a given path, are critical to the execution and development of heavy computing for things like AI training. NVIDIA's Mellanox acquisition is likely one of the best strategic acquisitions they possibly could have made to bolster their revenues and prepare themselves for the cloud and AI-centric decade of the 2020s. Even Minecraft was touched by NVIDIA in 2019 when they released a patch for the game for Windows 10. This patch would affect how light, reflections, and shadows work within the Minecraft engine, rendering the world much more vibrant with dynamic lighting sources. 2020 and 2021 then saw NVIDIA make an attempt to buy ARM, the UK-based chip designer, for a whopping $32 billion. SoftBank, who is a famous investor in many large technology companies, also sought to invest in this deal with NVIDIA. Later, in 2020, NVIDIA sought to build the most powerful computer in Cambridge, England. The Cambridge One launched in July with a $100 million investment to employ AI to support healthcare research, such as drug discovery. NVIDIA's capabilities had become so far-reaching they had once sat at a table at a Denny's betting on video games, and would now be helping find new drugs using their technology in collaboration with world governments. Though governments were certainly a hefty obstacle for NVIDIA to overcome, at the same time, as the company vied for its acquisition of ARM, they were investigated by the European Commission and the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, who raised concerns about the anti-competitive nature of such an acquisition. By February of 2022, The acquisition of ARM was abandoned as regulators would not allow the SoftBank NVIDIA-led takeover to happen. However, these types of setbacks have not slowed NVIDIA's explosive growth. The company is continuing to innovate. DriveThor, their most recent automotive-grade chip, is becoming a mainstay in automotive companies such as Li Auto, Volvo, and Audi. In fact, there are over 4.5 million cars on the road that are powered by NVIDIA processors. The company has many different applications for their technology, such as data centers, gaming, professional visualization of supply chains and manufacturing facilities using their Omniverse software, and their aforementioned automotive sensors. NVIDIA has risen through the ranks, having almost shut down in its early days to becoming a nearly unstoppable financial and stock market behemoth. The company is growing at what could be considered some of its fastest ever rates, especially since becoming a public company, and even experiencing high double-digit and triple-digit revenue growth. This has helped propel the company to its trillion-dollar-plus valuation. To commemorate how impactful that unassuming night at that Denny's was, Denny's even installed a plaque to mark the corner booth that Huang, Malachowski, and Priem sat in. At the time of writing this video, NVIDIA had trailing 12-month revenues of over $60 billion for 2024. Even before releasing full-year results in their earnings, the company is in a full-blown cash-printing renaissance and have authorized over $50 billion in share buybacks as of October of 2024, along with an increase of 150% to their already impressive $344 million dividend. And all signs seem to show that the company is only going to grow from here. As of the latest updates, NVIDIA remains a dominant and crucial player in the technology sector, continuously driving advancements in graphics and AI computing. The company's influence extends to the world of data, AI, automobiles, autonomous robots, mobile devices, research, games, and many others. Who would have thought that three men at a Denny's would revolutionize the world and build one of the largest multi-trillion-dollar companies over the coming decades? So should you invest in NVIDIA stock? That's for you to decide and for us to find out. Thank you for watching Future Scout. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest in technology, and we will see you next time.